to be used, and we know popularly and even more definitively, yoga has been used to allay the stress relief packages. Nearly all of them have part of yoga in that, and having become now official as part of the UN declaration and having become a very popular practice of lifestyle, it should be encouraged. People should participate, and that the champions who take this forward in reaching it to the public in this program will also be briefed about all the psychosocial distresses that people with COVID or otherwise in this pandemic face, and how we need to be sensitive and recognize them. Severe forms of these distresses could amount to a psychiatric illness, sometimes even as bad as needing admission, to as bad as needing some definitive treatment, to milder forms which will produce heavy burden on the society. So, hoping that this manual, when properly applied, yoga therapists, yoga champions will now have a additional skill to carry with them, to be able to recognize stress, recognize psychiatric morbidity, recognize severe psychiatric illnesses which can go for treatment. So put together, it's a great value addition to the already highly valued yoga in the community. I wish each one of you, the team that worked together from the CCRYN, the SVASA, and of course from NIMHANS, all three of you deserve to be congratulated. And this team effort is what is going to take yoga forward, and of course yoga to be more imbibed into our lifestyle for the betterment of the entire health of the community, and of course the betterment of the entire health of the nation. Thank you once again. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, sir. I would now invite Shri P.N. Rajiv Kumar, the Joint Secretary of the Ministry of Ayush, Government of India, who has been kind enough to join us in today's program and encourage our efforts, to give in the introductory address. Sir, please go ahead. Shri Rajiv Kumar will also release the Samatvam, which is a quarterly newsletter of NIMHANS, after his introductory address. I now request Shri Rajiv Kumar to please give in the introductory address.
Thank you, Dr. Arati. Respected Guruji, Dr. Gangadhar, Dr. Raghavendra Rao, all other esteemed participants who have joined today. A warm good morning to each one of you. The virus has been playing havoc with our lives for almost 15 months. The full impact of the pandemic, one need not describe, it's before our eyes. It's for all of us to see, either from personal experience or from the experience of near and dear. But speaking from the healthcare profession, this is not a time to take stock of the damage, but a time to search for sources of light all around. That way, Dr. BNG set the tone right for today's discussion by coming straight away to the positives in the pandemic scenario. So thank you, Dr. BNG, for that. We are here in connection with a very important subject, that is the psychosocial rehabilitation of patients. What happens in our society very often is that the mind-body continuum is something which we always forget, particularly in times of distress like these. The focus is on what we see before our eyes. The focus is, it's always the physical, which gets considered first. And rightly so too, But then that does not mean that the psychological and the emotional and even the spiritual should get overlooked. So that way, this initiative is very, very timely. Uh, as practitioners or followers or lovers of yoga and naturopathy too, we are aware of this fact that if anything can lead the body out of distress, it is the mind. And many times in distress situations, the body gives in only after the mind gives in. The patients, our experience of the last few months show, go through a lot when they are afflicted with COVID. The stress is immense. The fear of the unknown, the new ailment. And unfortunately, occasionally, not everywhere, occasionally in some communities, it also brings in some sort of ostracism associated with the lack of knowledge about the ailment. All this put together, the patients, like I said, they go through a lot, and it's high time that health professionals started giving attention, more focused attention to this part. And I compliment the three institutions who have come together, um, SVIASA, NIMHANS, the two departments of NIMHANS actually. So plus CCRYN with its young dynamic Dr. Rao, my friend. So this is really commendable. In fact, though this is not a time to take credit, but the fact it cannot escape our attention that is one among the earliest initiatives focused on the psychosocial aspects of the impact of COVID-19. So this needs to be taken forward. And if at all any systems of healthcare can make pioneering contribution to psychosocial rehabilitation, it is the holistic systems like yoga and naturopathy. Believers, they tend to believe that the yoga counselor or the naturopathy practitioner, it is God which touches the patient through them. The respect which our systems have for the patient, the respect, the compassion, the patience with which patients are treated, all these they are divine. So it is very timely and very much in order that yoga and naturopathy practices are being put into use tremendously in this psychosocial rehabilitation. And the other thing which I should compliment the three institutions is that what has been put together, I had a glimpse, I got an opportunity to have a glimpse of what has been put together is based on experience, it's based on evidence, it's based on studies. So this is certainly an excellent beginning, not just for these two disciplines, the two disciplines of yoga and naturopathy, but also for the patients. So my compliments, my best wishes to this. And I'm also glad that we have received and we are continuing to receive the mentorship of a towering figure like Guruji, Dr. Nagendra. With this backdrop, I see a lot of potential for what is being primed today. So thanks once again and all the best for today's workshop.
Thank you, sir, for your encouraging words and for your vision that you have shown us for the future. I now move on to the next part of the program. I would request you to please release the Samatvam. You could announce that you will release the Samatvam, the quarterly newsletter, and we will click it from here so that it opens online for our audience. Please release the Samatvam.
Thank you, Dr. Arati, once again. And with a tremendous sense of privilege, I am releasing the quarterly newsletter, Samatvam.
Thank you so much. This would be available for people who have logged in today. We could send an e-copy, and the copies have already been given to the ministry for your look. Thank you. I now invite our beloved Guruji, who's presiding over today's function, to give the presidential address. He's always been a source of encouragement and a source of very important support for all of us. Guruji, I invite you to give the presidential address and your remarks on this occasion.
My dear brothers and sisters, I should first congratulate my dear Aarti for taking this initiative to bring the psychosocial rehabilitation dimensions for BNYS doctors. And naturally, our Shivram Varampaliji, then Hemant Bhargav, and Manjunath, Raghavendra Rao, all of them worked very hard to prepare this nice manual so that it will become a document for the BNYS doctors to follow, and thereby we will be able to contribute our own lot for dealing with Mahamari, Corona, COVID-19, which has come with a new phase, which is taking big tolls of death everywhere. Therefore, it is very, very essential that we should make all efforts, efforts to prevent the COVID spreading fast. This can happen by two means: through the vaccines that we are trying to put forth everywhere, and the second dimension, which already it has been talked about by our Honorable Prime Minister and the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, that yoga, the Ayurveda had to be brought forth with full rigor to the people at large, and people should practice it. Such simple, cost-effective programs have to be brought forth nicely. But once they have the positive, they have to be taken care of in rehabilitation centers and not necessarily in high-tech hospitals alone. We have a large number of hospitals of the Ayush and others where we can take care of these people, and there are rehabilitation centers, and there also people can be taken. But then it needs the manpower to do that. And it is a knowledge that is very necessary for the people more than the dimension that is needed to deal with that. So they must take suitable precautions and do that. And how many large number of such doctors have devoted themselves in the previous COVID menace in all the hospitals, and the volunteers came forward in a big way. Similarly, we have a huge number of BNYS and Ayush doctors who are spread all over the country, and they should come forward to meet the challenge now. And because there is a acute shortage of the human manpower throughout the country to deal with this thing, mainly because of the fear that they have. We don't know what is going to happen when they do that. Therefore, we should see that the people are trained very well. Therefore, in this direction, it is really laudable that CCRYN, our director, Dr. Raghavendra Rao, came forward, and all of them worked so hard to prepare this nice manual, which will be a big contribution at this crucial juncture to bring the dimensions of yoga, Ayurveda, along with the dimensions of psychosocial rehabilitation processes that are necessary. And Aarti has been one of the top researchers in this field, using yoga and psychosocial rehabilitation, and therefore her contribution is highly appreciated in this juncture. And once again, I bring greetings to all of them for doing this excellent work, which is the need of the hour today. And thank you all very much. Thank you, our Joint Secretary, who has always been so very supportive, Ranjit Kumarji, and he had the theme to see that it spreads through the Ministry of Ayush, and probably our Vaidya Rajesh Kotecha Secretary also will join now, and he can give his chief guest address and release the Samatvam quarterly newsletter from Nimas. And once again, thank you all very much for bringing this dimension to the people at large. Namaskar.
Thank you. I also request you to release the protocol. I think it's with you, the hard copy. I request you to just show it to the audience, and this would be available on the CCRYN website for use and for training. Thank you, Guruji. Thank you. You need to show it in front of you, Guruji. I think it's not showing properly. Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, that's much better. Thank you. Thank you so much for releasing the protocol for psychosocial rehabilitation. Thank you, Guruji. Unfortunately, our Secretary of Ministry of Ayush, Vaidya Rajesh Kotecha ji, has been unable to join us today because of other commitments. So I will move on to the next part of the program, and I would request Dr. Shivram Varambuli to deliver the vote of thanks for this inauguration before we move on to the webinar. Dr. Shivram Varambuli. Dr. Shivram Varambuli is the head in charge of the Department of Integrative Medicine from the NIMHANS, and who's been extremely supportive in this entire initiative of developing this protocol.
Thank you, Aarti. Of course, the team that developed the protocol deserves all our thanks. I'm not really a technical person in that team, but all the same, the departments of integrative medicine and psychiatric social work have come together to develop this protocol. But I should particularly thank the Ayush Ministry. Although Sri Vaidya Kotecha was not able to join us, he has been very supportive to us. And as you all can see, PN Ranjit Kumar ji, who spoke around 10 minutes back, has been one of the people who has been the backbone and supporting Dr. Raghavendra Rao at CCRYN. I thank both these people from the ministry and the ministry itself. And as he said, the dynamic director of the CCRYN, Dr. Raghavendra Rao, has been doing various programs during this COVID. This is manually just one of them. And we would really like to thank Dr. Raghavendra. We, of course, have had a very long collaboration with him, even when he was at HCG, long before he joined the CCRYN. And of course, SVASA, again, has been a collaborator for us more than 20 or 25 years now. And most of our knowledge about yoga and the effects on mental health come from the work done at SVASA and us jointly. Dr. H.R. Nagendra has been a guru in more than name for us. Along with Dr. Manjunath, he has been the major support for most of the initiatives in yoga that we have taken. And it is because of Dr. Gangadhar and Dr. Nagendra that today we have a Department of Integrative Medicine, which hopefully will lead the way to more such departments all over India. Ultimately, we hope one unit of integrative medicine in each medical college. That will be the ultimate aim for all of us. And from NIMHANS particularly, I would also like to thank Dr. Dhanashekhara Pandian, who is the current head of the Department of Psychiatric Social Work, and Aarti, who has been coordinating all this. And the team actually who developed this is a combination of the team at NIMHANS, led by Dr. Aarti, Dr. Hemant Bhargav, Dr. Shrikant and Dr. Sumana, and from SVASA, Dr. Manjunath, Dr. Apar Savaji, Dr. Swati, and Mr. Bharatish. So these are the people who actually made this possible, this manual. And of course, I should not forget to thank the IT cell and the NIMHANS administration who have coordinated this. I can see if there are more than 220 people logged in, and my thanks to each one of them, all attendees. You are the people who are going to make this a success by using the manual. And hopefully, like Dr. Nagendra said at the beginning, we should actually reach the most easy parts of this to every person in India, if not the world. How to protect yourself from being devastated by this disease, whether it happens to you or anybody else in your family. You know, each of us knows somebody who's been affected by COVID, if not ourselves, and how to give relief to these people is the aim of all these things. Hopefully, this will go a long way in helping all of you deal with it. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Aarti.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shivram. We will now move on to the formal webinar of this program. We come to the end of the release of the protocol and the inaugural function, and we will now move on to the online workshop for BNYS doctors. Today, we will be presenting only a snapshot of whatever is there in the protocol for your understanding. And I first welcome both the chairpersons who would be facilitating the webinar, Dr. Manjunath, who is with us today over here, and Dr. Dhanasekaran Pandian. I would like to tell a little about Dr. Manjunath. Dr. Manjunath, could I please request you to come on to the video mode? Yes, I wanted to see you initially. Yes. Dr. Manjunath is the Pro Vice Chancellor of SVSI University, and he's also the Director of Research of the Anveshana Center in SVSI University. We are very fortunate to have him with us today. He has done a lot of work in the area of yoga. He's actually completed his PhD from SVSI University with his BNYS from Mangalore University. He has 25 years of research experience and has published multiple research publications in various indexed international and national journals. His research areas include psychophysiology of yoga, neural correlates of meditation, aging, and rehabilitation. He believes that integrative medicine has a huge future in healthcare and in conducting various studies combining the best of Ayush systems and conventional medicine. Dr. Manjunath has delivered multiple lectures on evidence-based yoga therapy, and he's also the editor of the famous iJoy magazine, which is one of the premier magazines in yoga, and has been part of a number of advisory committees, including that of DST Satyam, the Research Committee, the Niti Aayog, the core committee working members for the Yoga Accreditation, the NAC Committee, and also he's the Vice President of the Vivekanand Yoga University of California, USA, the Director of Boston Center, to name a few. I can move on with the resume only, but I want to continue with the webinar. So I hand over the reins of the webinar to Dr. Manjunath, and Dr. Manjunath would introduce our co-chairperson, Dr. Dhanasekaran Pandian, who's also with us today. So please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Aarti, for that wonderful introduction. And we have lots of credit to give you in particular because you have taken multiple initiatives along with the institutions like SVSI and NIMHANS to bring these two very important advisories, guidelines, or manuals. One we always remember is the teleyoga related advisory, and the psychosocial rehabilitation meant for today being discussed is for natural doctors. Another very important part which we will be very happy to reach it to each and every healthcare worker in the field of yoga and naturopathy. So today with me, I have the head of the Department of Psychiatric Psychosocial work, Dr. Dhanasekaran Pandian. He is the most well-known personality in the field. Dr. Pandian is a professor and head of psychiatric social work and consultant at the Adult Psychiatric Unit and also the Obsessive Compulsive Disorder Special Clinic of NIMHANS. His areas of interest are addiction-related psychosocial intervention with individuals and community, family accommodation, family rituals, and family-related psychosocial interventions in the areas of OCD. He has guided many MPhil and PhD scholars and in various areas related to psychosocial rehabilitation. And he has also been involved with multiple research projects in the areas related to mental health, addiction, and as mentioned, OCD, very few to mention. He has conducted many training programs for professionals and non-professionals in the area of various aspects of mental health, published many research papers, both in national and international professional journals. It's my privilege to have Dr. Pandian as a co-chair to this webinar. And dear Dr. Pandian, privilege to get the introductory few words from you, because it's all to do with psychosocial rehabilitation before we start with the actual presentations by the speaker. Dr. Pandian.
Thank you very much, sir. Good morning. It's a great opportunity for the Department of Psychiatric Social Work, NIMHANS, and our Department of Integrative Medicines of NIMHANS to have this meaningful collaborations with the wonderful organizations in the country. In fact, the Department of Psychiatric Social Work and Integrative Medicine, in fact, the entire NIMHANS, we strongly believe no organization can work in isolations. Every effort can be a multidisciplinary teamwork so that we can provide a higher quality of service delivery to our clients and their family members. In fact, we from the Department of Psychiatric Social Work and Integrative Medicine, we are grateful to our directors, Professor B.N. Gangadhar, our Senior Professor of Psychiatry, and our former Director of NIMHANS, and Professor Sadiq Chandra Girimaji, Senior Professor of Child Adolescent Psychiatry and the present Director, and Professor G. Gururaj, our Senior Professor of Epidemiology and our former Director of NIMHANS, for all their support and encouragement for this meaningful collaborations. In fact, this is a wonderful beginning. Well, beginning is half done. So we are extremely pleased to have these wonderful collaborations, and we would be happy to support all the activities of the Ministry of Ayush as well as the Swasthya for all the services which we are planning for the welfare of the people in the country. With these few words, I sincerely thank every one of you, and I would be looking for the presentations going to be presented by my colleagues, Dr. Arti Jagannathan, Dr. Apar Avinash Soji, and Dr. Hemant Bhargava and other members. So I invite all of them for this presentation. It's a great opportunity for all of us to listen to their presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pandian. So let us start with the first presentation. As Dr. Pandian mentioned, we have three most eminent personalities in this field who will be presenting various aspects of this manual, which is a part of the workshop. So we have actually in the manual, there are 6 sessions. So the session 1 is related to the COVID-19 pandemic epidemiology, diagnosis, preventive care, etc. Session 2, mental health sequel of COVID-19. Session 3, assessment of psychosocial issues in COVID-19 patients. Session 4 on naturopathy intervention for management of COVID-19. Session 5 on yoga intervention for the management of COVID-19. And session 6, psychosocial rehabilitation intervention for the management of COVID-19. So to make the beginning, I invite the first speaker, who is Dr. Hemant Bhargav. Dr. Hemant Bhargav will be talking about the COVID pandemic situation and yoga intervention for the management of COVID-19. Let me just in brief give you share about a brief introduction bio about Dr. Hemant Bhargav. Dr. Hemant Bhargav is a conventional medical doctor with an MBBS and followed by an MD in yoga and rehabilitation, followed by a PhD in yoga from Swami Vivekananda Yoga Anusandhan Sanstana, which is deemed to be university. And he is currently working as an assistant professor of yoga at the Department of Integrative Medicine at NIMHANS, before which he was working at SPIASA as an assistant professor looking in the division of life sciences. He is actively involved in yoga research related to neuropsychiatry, patient care through yoga therapy, and teaching holistic medicine to undergraduate and postgraduate medical students. He has published more than 80 research papers in peer-reviewed international journals in the field of integrative medicine, yoga, and Ayurveda, including, in addition, he has edited 2 books on yoga for mental health care. He was awarded gold medal for the best MD as well as PhD thesis. He has been invited as a speaker for many national and international conferences, workshops, and seminars. Currently, he has 2 funded projects as principal investigator related to mental health. And he has also been part of several committees in the government of India, where yoga education, yoga therapy, and outreach related yoga are part of it. So it's my privilege inviting Dr. Hemant Bhargav to make his presentation on the first part of this manual. Dr. Hemant Bhargav, please.
Thank you very much, Manjunath sir. Thank you, Pandian sir. Dear students, this manual, as Manjunath sir told, has 6 chapters, and I will be covering the first and the 5th chapter. The first chapter, which is dealing with the current epidemiology of the COVID-19 pandemic, along with the diagnosis and that we need to take. So I request to kindly share my slides. COVID-19 pandemic, as you see, the current count after the second waves, especially in India, is 15.9 million. And we have seen that 1,85,000 deaths have occurred. Therefore, the second wave with high infectivity rate and high case fatality rate is creating a health. Also, the epidemiological data world over show that the case fatality is higher in males as compared to females, with ratio exceeding 1 and reaching up to 3.5 in certain Western countries. But recent Lancet paper showed that as compared to the Western world, in Asia, especially in India, surprisingly, the case fatality is higher in females as compared to male. Especially, this has been observed that these case fatality rates were 2.9% among men and 3.3% among women. Similar case fatality rates have also been noted in Nepal, Vietnam, and Slovenia. So this is a little surprising kind of a data, but this is what the trend shows. Now, coming to the COVID-19 clinical symptoms, when we look at the disease, initially in the first wave, the initial strains of the virus, fever was the commonest symptom, with 80% of the cases reporting fever, followed by loss of smell, loss of taste, and then there was breathlessness. Severe category of symptoms, dry cough was also a common symptom. And then in the severe category, we observed that when the respiratory rate increased above 30 and SpO2 went below 90%, then it was called as the severe category. So my slide shows the mild, moderate, and severe categories according to MOHFW, Government of India, how the pulmonologists in India are categorizing these cases. But now, with the emergence of the new mutant variants, we are seeing the variation in the clinical presentations also. Especially the recent variant seems to have adapted itself to a kind of a GI predominant variant, and now diarrhea, vomiting, and abdominal pain related symptoms have become more common, commonly associated, and in fact fever is now less common. So these kind of dynamic variations are there. Skin symptoms, oral ulcers, and rashes over the skin also have become a common symptom now. Now, coming to the little background about the pathophysiology of this disease, it is now well established that the cytokine, the pro-inflammatory cytokines, creating a cytokine storm is the major cause, which is leading to ARDS. And now we see that the immune response, which is involved in this particular infection, is similar to what is involved in HIV, where CD4 and CD8 ratio is affected. Similarly, it has been observed that 28% of the cases, especially in India, have reported stress, anxiety, and depression during this pandemic. And it is proven that these psychosocial aspects, they play a very important role in prevention and deterioration of the patients, because there are studies showing that people who are depressed, people who are under a lot of stress, have a suppressed immune system, and that can lead to a faster progression of disease in conditions like HIV. Next slide. So therefore, stress is playing a very important role, and this is a pathophysiological mechanism, how stress can affect infections and how it can lead to faster progression. Similar trend or similar pattern, we expect that the stress may be affecting the current pandemic also. Next. Now going to the ancient literature, why actually yoga is important as a intervention in the psychosocial support program when we want to look at this, address this pandemic. So there are these references from Patanjali Yoga Sutras and Hatha Yoga Pradipika, where there have been a definite connection between mind and breath, and stress is connected to immune system. So therefore, pranayama is a very important component in the yoga module that we have developed. We see references from Hatha Yoga Pradipika, where it has been said that if you perform Bhastrika, it removes imbalances of all the three doshas, Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and it enhances the digestive fire. And those who do 20 counts thrice daily, they should never suffer from disease, and it should have a very high preventive value. This is written in Gheranda Samhita. Next. So similarly, we are seeing that in yogic tradition, directly or indirectly, there are many references where the cleansing of the subtle energy channels, removing dropsy, or diseases of the sevenfold elements of the body, that is dhatus, could be addressed. Mental health can be improved. I will also show some modern scientific references. Fine, please go to the next slide. So this is what the research of yoga and stress have shown so far. There are studies showing that patients who suffered from HIV did better when yoga was added as a psychosocial intervention in terms of improving their quality of life and the immune modulation. Similarly, depressive symptoms have been reduced by use of practice of Bhastrika and Ujjayi. Telles et al. Have shown that uninostril breathing can modulate and balance the autonomic nervous system, which gets imbalanced when there is stress. Similarly, there are other studies supporting yoga for stress management. Next. And these are, there was a recent, in 2018, a systematic review of 15 randomized control trial, which showed that yoga can significantly reduce pro-inflammatory markers. And as I told you, that cytokine storm is the most important pathological mechanism which is leading to the acute respiratory distress syndrome. So therefore, there is a direct evidence that yoga can reduce inflammation. A regular practice of yoga for 8 weeks have been shown to even enhance antibody titers against in response to influenza vaccine. Now, this is the time when most of the people are receiving COVID vaccine. So if people do yoga as an add-on, we hypothesize that they will have a higher antibody response generated in their body after vaccination. So there are similar papers on improving the immune cells also. Yes. So there are many more such references. Please go to the next slide. Now, teleyoga, we are seeing that more and more researchers are coming up with teleyoga, and the module that we have developed is feasible to apply even through telemode. Next. And this is some preliminary data from NIMHANS. By using this module, we have already validated it in patients who suffer from COVID-19, and the manuscript is under review. This is the data that we have already published, where we took a 45-minute session of this program. 10 experts were involved in development, and it was taught to 91 subjects during the last wave. And these are the demographic details of this subject. People attended in a month, average of 11.6 sessions. And it was observed that people were able to learn the module better after attending 10 supervised sessions. So therefore, in the module, we have recommended that the session should be taught for 10 sessions in a supervised way. And after that, probably a video of the module can be shared with the patients, with the subjects. Next. Similarly, it was observed that the module was safe and effective. It was feasible. People also reported that there was a stress reduction by 16%, and 75% of them attributed that stress reduction to their yoga practice. 28% reported a reduction in their painkiller intake after just 1 month of intervention. And 12.5% also said that their sleep medications reduced. Overall, they found module to be useful, as score of 8.8 on an average out of 10. Next. So with this kind of a quick background, this is the paper that we have published in Asian Journal of Psychiatry. Please, next. These were the sessions that were conducted. This is the Nima's team taking those sessions. Next. Now, current modern scientific evidence, if you put yoga and COVID now, you will get 67 hits in PubMed. And recently, we are seeing more and more database studies coming up. Please, next. There are studies which have case studies are there, narrative reviews are there, studies that have combined yoga and naturopathy, studies that have combined yoga and Ayurveda. We are seeing more and more research publications coming up. Next. Many papers you will see that have come from S. Vyasa University. During this pandemic, they actually were able to conduct pan-India kind of programs, and a lot of researchers have come up. Next. Next. Similarly, there are studies from US where saline water gargling and nasal irrigation, actually the procedure is Jalaneti only. And this has been shown to have a lot of preventive value even in healthcare workers. So therefore, Jalaneti once a week can be advised. Next. So now coming to the module that we have put here in your protocol. This is a 40-minute protocol, and basically the aim of the protocol is, number 1, to modulate immune system, number 2, to strengthen the respiratory system, and number 3 is to reduce stress, anxiety, and depression. Next. Next. There are certain precautions which you have to take. All of you are trained in yoga, therefore I need not go in details, but a well-ventilated room, a room which is well lit, and people should wear loose, comfortable clothing. Because we are doing fast breathing practices like Kapalbhati and Bhastrika, they should observe empty stomach condition, that is at least 2 hours after the meals, they should perform this module. Next. And there are other instructions, use of a separate mat by the patient, similarly emptying of the bowel and bladder before performing yoga practices. Do not overexert. Even if there are some symptomatic patients, the module has to be tailor-made, so that the practices which are more rigorous should be avoided, and the practices which are easy to perform, slow breathing practices, should be incorporated. So one important precaution which students have to take is do not force the whole module to all the patients. You have to use your own clinical skills to use the components of the module as per the patient. Next. And precautions that we have to take: maintain social distancing, wear protective mask. Even you, when you take sessions for such people, if they are direct sessions, you have to wear a PPE kit, or through telemode, you have to follow the necessary precaution according to the tele yoga guidelines that have been released by the Ministry of Ayush. Next. So these are some contraindicated practices according to the tele yoga guideline released by Ministry of Ayush. These practices are not included in the current module, and if they are included, they are according to the guidelines. Next. So in brief, I will just quickly in the last show you the practices. So the practices, as I told you, are focusing on strengthening the respiratory system. So there is this hands in and out breathing. There is hands stretch breathing, focusing on 3 lobes of the lungs. Next. Then we have twisting practice. After that, as Dr. Raghavendra Rao was saying, that yogic breathing, the Vibhagi Pranayama has been found very useful, and we are performing it in 3 mudras: Chin Mudra, Chinmay Mudra, and Adi Mudra. With Chin Mudra, you focus on the lower zone of the chest, with Chinmay Mudra on the middle zone, and with Adi Mudra on the upper zone. And the breathing is performed in the ratio 1:4:2. Now this ratio, the count, exact count, you have to modulate according to the breathing capacity of the patient. Healthy person can do it as 4 count inhale, 16 count hold, 8 count exhale. Whereas patient who cannot do it, you can maintain a ratio of say 3, 12, and 6, or you can also maintain it as 2, 8, and 4, but 1:4:2. Next, Kapalabhati Kriya is another very important practice which reduces the kapha dosha. Bhastrika also reduces kapha. Ujjayi practice has been useful in removing the phlegm from the throat. Nadi Shuddhi balances all the subtle energy channels of the body. And then the practice of Auma chanting the Nad Anusandhana for the calming down of the mind. So this is a simple module. At the end, we also put a positive affirmation, a positive statement. My immune system is getting stronger and stronger. I am happy and healthy. So this is the module in brief for you. We will have sessions where we will actually train you in conducting this module. Next. Thank you very much. This is the team from the Department of Integrative Medicine, which has worked, and from Department of Psychiatric Social Work, we have Dr. Aarti Jagannathan guiding us throughout the process of making this protocol. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hemant. That was actually, you have covered all the essential parts, not just giving the yoga intervention part, also brought in lots of essential tools, what we always look in Hatha Yoga Pradipika as the basic requirement, like who should do, how the environment should be, and how the preparation should be made, as well as doing the actual practices. And you have also covered the literature so much in detail. So I think this will give a lot of confidence to all naturopathy doctors that there's so much of work going on already, and there's so much of positive thing what we can pick from yoga intervention or yoga therapy in the management of COVID-19. And particularly your experience working with patients, developing modules, and also using them and standardizing them will be very useful that way. Thank you very much for that illustrious talk. So now, having heard from Dr. Hemant about yoga, this is time to, now it is time to listen on how we can use similar principles from naturopathy. So for which I have Dr. Apar Savoji Rao. Dr. Apar Savoji Rao is a gold medalist and university topper when he was doing his bachelor's in naturopathy and yogic sciences from Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences in Bengaluru. He has done his doctoral work on psychophysiology of yogic breathing, and I'm so happy to be working with him as his guide. And there was so much which we learned when he was doing his doctoral work on breathing in particular, bringing breath holding as one of the important part, which otherwise is forgotten or neglected in pranayama today, considering lots of issues related to breath holding if it is not done properly. And Dr. Apar has also worked as a technical consultant at the National Institute of Naturopathy, Pune, before he took up full-time teaching and research career at S. Vyasa. Presently, he is the principal of the School of Yoga and Naturopathic Medicine at S. Vyasa University. He is also been given the responsibility to run the postgraduate program, MD program, which is very well known, related to yoga and rehabilitation at S. Vyasa University. He has more than 15 publications and several, as I know, many others are in review. And he is a prolific publisher as well as a great orator. And he has presented his work in several national and international conferences. His research interest includes application of yoga and naturopathy in health and disease, and understanding the underlying mechanisms of such interventions. He has visited several countries in propagating yoga and naturopathy. Some of them to mention are Germany, France, Spain, Netherlands, and Austria. He is a recipient of 3 gold medals and Sitaram Jindal Award for Academic Excellence. So it's my privilege inviting Dr. Apar Savoji Rao to talk about the intervention, what we have derived taking the principles of naturopathic medicine, and also the probable methods of assessments, what all we can include when we train people, naturopaths, in giving naturopathy and yoga interventions. Over to Dr. Apar Savoji Rao.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a privilege to be introduced by none other than my own mentor, Dr. Manjunath. And it's an honor to be part of this team who was involved in developing this module of yoga and naturopathy for the psychosocial rehabilitation in COVID-19 patients. Essentially, we understand that it is not just the people who are in ICUs and requiring oxygen, but a lot of people are isolated at their homes. And the whole thought process was, how do we make things more comfortable for people who are at home, things that can be done easily, things that can be used very well to enhance the quality of life, to reduce the psychosocial impact of COVID-19, as well as to make sure that their symptoms are managed well. So that was the whole thought process behind creating the naturopathy module when we were doing it. And I would like to also put on record the contributions of my colleague, Dr. Swati, who was very actively involved during the entire development of this whole module. So I will be covering 2 aspects of this whole module that we have developed. One is the naturopathy intervention for COVID-19 patients, and also the assessments. So in the actual training, these naturopathy interventions will be dealt in detail at about 90 minutes. And the session would be aiming at educating the participants, that is the BNYS students and doctors, about understanding and administration of the naturopathy interventions for COVID-19 patients. As I was saying, the objective of naturopathy interventions in COVID-19 patients include to enhance quality of life, to reduce the possibility of proliferation of virus, and also to give symptomatic relief, and to modulate immune response for the coronavirus that is seen. Now, why naturopathy interventions? They are simple, they are cost effective, and they can be easily adapted as lifestyle measures by people at their own places. You don't really have to go to the doctors. Of course, if you will have to monitor your health, you will have to look at the SpO2 and other parameters, but then if you are confined to your homes, this can be done very easily. Patients can self-administer most of these therapies that we are suggesting, but if they are unable to, if they are admitted to hospital, they can be assisted by either the nursing staff or yoga naturopathy doctors or students as well. So essentially, we have categorized the naturopathy interventions, very simple ones, and most of you being either yoga naturopathy physicians or students, you're all aware of the process of all these. But then just to name a few, we have included steam inhalation, hot foot immersion, gargling, aromatherapy and massage therapy, simple acupressure to a few points, heliotherapy, and naturopathic diet. Now, the steam inhalation is to reduce the viral load as well as to reduce the upper respiratory symptoms. Typically, the first wave, a lot of people had upper respiratory symptoms. It will also reduce the congestion in the chest and There are some studies which are not really published, but these are the observations by the clinicians who are dealing with COVID-19 patients, that steam inhalations actually in 2 to 5 minutes increase the SpO2 levels very quickly. So oxygen saturation levels increase. Now, to enhance the effect, we can use steam generated from plain water, or we can add things like tulsi leaves or eucalyptus or peppermint oil, which will again help in dilating the bronchus. So this can be done for 2 to 5 minutes twice a day, but if there are symptoms, you can repeat it more number of times, and therefore the clinical judgment of the doctors or students is going to be very important when it comes to actual administration of all the treatments that we're talking here. The hot foot immersion, there are a lot of studies which tell us that it is going to improve sleep, reduce fatigue, as well as foot immersion is known to reduce the respiratory symptoms. And the process is again a very simple one. We expose the legs up to the mid-calf level and immerse them in the hot water as much as it can be tolerated. There are also observations clinically which says that the fever with chills can come down when we do hot foot immersion. So a lot of benefits could be done, and this can be done 10 to 15 minutes once or twice a day. This can also be done as a pre-procedure to regular taking of bath. So it can just be included in your regular routine. It can also be done just before going to bed so that it will induce good sleep, which is one of the major problems. There are studies which report that insomnia is a common psychosocial implication of COVID-19 patients. Gargling is another very simple but very effective treatment that can be used. We use warm saline water. If saline water is not available, we can prepare it by just adding salt to warm water, and it can be again repeated 5 minutes twice a day. But if there are symptoms like sore throat, you can repeat it more number of times. Certain essential oils in aromatherapy are found to be very useful, not just to help in the respiratory symptoms, but also they are supposed to help in calming down the mind. And they are eucalyptus oil, peppermint oil, and thyme oil. Now, if you're using it for massage, it is advised that you mix it with the base oils like coconut, mustard, or gingerly. The reason why we have used these three different types of oils as base oils is because of the location where people can access those oils easily. In the northern part of country, probably mustard oil is more easily available, whereas in the southern part of the country, coconut oil could be very easily available. So whatever is available in your local area can be used as a base oil. Mix the essential oil with the base oil, and then self-massage can be done to the chest and upper back for about 10 to 15 minutes a day. And this can be done just prior to exposing to sunlight, which is again going to help a lot more. Now, aromatherapy can also be added as a treatment modality by sniffing the essential oils, about 1 to 2 drops of essential oil drops on a handkerchief, and sniff it 6 times a day or more as required. Now, again, this is going to help in relieving the upper respiratory symptoms and help the patients to be much more comfortable with their own selves. The acupressure points are specifically chosen to confer immunity and improve respiratory effort, and they include the large intestine 4 and 11, spleen 6, and stomach 36 on the leg. The CV13, which is in the center of your chest, and the triple warmer 5, which is at the back of your hand. So all these points are known to modulate the immune response, and the way you are going to apply acupressure is simple pressure, intermittent one, to be applied till the participant has comfortable or tolerable level of pain. Any excessive pain, we should avoid the practice. So the duration could be 5 to 10 minutes a day, or again, it can be repeated for a longer time as required. There have been a lot of reports on the association of vitamin D deficiency and the severity of COVID-19 disease, as well as the protective impact of vitamin D on the COVID-19 related mortality as well as the severity of the disease. And therefore, a simple way of generating vitamin D within our body is to expose ourselves to sunlight, and within the home isolations, probably going to a well-lit window or a balcony and exposing maximum part of the body to sunlight for about 15 to 20 minutes may help in boosting the immune response as well as production of enough amount of vitamin D. So this can be a very simple but very effective measure. Also, sunlight exposure is known to reduce depression. There have been a lot of studies again which talk of this association, and we know that COVID-19 is associated with a lot of depression. So it is going to help to do sunbathing, not just in terms of vitamin D, but also to enhance the psychological well-being of the individuals suffering from COVID-19. Now, the way we would like these naturopathy therapies to be incorporated in the routine of patients with COVID-19 is as part of their daily routine. We don't want them to be done as treatments, but rather as part of their routine. So very simple tips like gargling can be done while brushing the teeth. Generally, people brush twice a day, and you do gargling along with that. You don't have to make separate time for it. Similarly, chest back massage, acupressure, hot foot immersion can be done just before going for bath or sunbathing, etc. So in that way, it is going to be simple for anybody to follow, but at the same time, the impact is going to be multifold. It is not just going to prevent or help people, but also in terms of managing a lot of symptoms which can be worrisome. These days, even a small sore throat or cold, even if it is not COVID-19, could be very, very stressful. So doing these practices is going to be really, really helpful in terms of managing the psychological well-being of the individuals. In addition to that, naturopathy believes in the nutritional part of it, and the couple of things that we're talking here is, can we use naturopathic nutritional immune boosters? And there are herbal decoctions as well as hot herbal drinks that we recommend. And there are different simple ingredients which are widely available across India, which we are proposing here, like Indian gooseberry, tulsi, ginger, fresh lime, turmeric, and all that will be boiled with water. And the immune booster can be taken 250 ml twice a day in adults. In children, it can be done 100 ml twice a day. The immune boosting hot drink could be, again, using the similar ingredients of ginger, tulsi, as well as black pepper. The leukeric roots, they can be very, very useful, as well as turmeric powder. And adults can have about 50 ml twice a day. Children can have 20 ml twice a day. The naturopathic nutrition is going to be a very important aspect of the management. And I'm not going to give the exact chart, which is part of the module here, but basically the principles while developing naturopathic nutrition or providing naturopathic nutrition to COVID-19 participants is that we emphasize on seasonal and regional varieties of foods. It should be bland and non-irritating food, sattvic, fresh vegetarian meals that we provide. The diet has to be balanced, providing optimal nutrition, and it should be rich in phytochemicals because of the kind of cytokine storm that we're talking about, the free radical injury that we're talking about. So to minimize the impact of that, the dietary intervention that we have proposed in the manual incorporates largely all of that. But again, this can be modified based on the locality. In the northern part of country, probably the wheat-based items will be taken higher, whereas in the southern part of the country, it could be rice-based items. So we can alter these things, but the principles and the focus has to remain on these while we provide the naturopathic nutrition. Having said that, I'm now switching on to the assessment of the psychosocial issues in COVID-19 patients. And there are several clinical parameters that we know. We continue to watch temperature, we continue to watch breathlessness, we continue to watch SpO2. But in addition, these assessments are supposed to help us to understand the psychosocial issues which are not known by the SpO2 levels or the temperature levels of the individuals. Also, these assessment tools are going to help us to understand the changes that are associated with yoga, naturopathy, and psychosocial rehabilitation modalities that we are proposing. So during the actual training, we're going to give you these tools and we're going to help you to understand each component of the tool. How do we allow the patients to fill those tools, as well as how do we interpret those tools is the part of the training that we would have. So these assessments are to be done at baseline, that is on either admission or on the day that home quarantine is advised. On 10th day, because we have suggested that we start with the 10 days module and then continue to follow till 30th day. All the assessment tools are self-assessed by the patients and caregivers, that is we as doctors and students will provide help if the patients are unable to understand some questions or something like that. The total duration required for these assessments to be done is about 30 minutes. We have 6 tools which are looking at few aspects of the disease. One is the symptoms that we are going to have as a checklist, the stress levels, the anxiety and depression levels, and then the overall health, the adherence to yoga performance, and the overall well-being. So these are different aspects of the psychosocial assessment that we have proposed in the module. Just very briefly about each one of these, self-rated symptom assessment checklist, we have listed about 15 symptoms on a 5-point Likert scale of severity, 0 being none, 5 being the very severe one, and this is again self-rated. And we have symptoms which are not just upper respiratory symptoms like my colleague Dr. Hemant was just narrating. The second wave involves a lot of gastrointestinal symptoms, and we have included a lot of vomiting, nausea, diarrhea, etc. And the non-specific symptoms of viral disease like headaches, rashes, muscle joint aches, etc. So all these are going to help us to understand how well is the progress of the individual when they are undergoing the treatments, whether with allopathy or just with yoga naturopathy things that we are proposing. So an average score will be calculated to understand the disease severity as well as the prognosis. Perceived stress scale is a very well-known tool to understand stress levels, and it is applied across the world very widely. Again, you have 10 items here on a 5-point Likert scales, and some items indicate negative things and some items are indicating the positive mental frameworks about the thoughts and feelings. So the total score has to be summed up, and there is a manual to assess which items need to be reverse scored, which items need to be non-reverse scored. But lower scores on perceived stress scale indicate lower levels of stress, higher indicate high levels of stress. We also have yoga performance assessment tool, which is developed by NIMHANS. And this is about, we can be instructing yoga, but how well does the participant participates? And that is what is assessed here, whether there is an integration between the breathing and the body movements, whether the participant is able to relax well. So there are these kind of questions 8 of them to be answered on a 4-point scale, and higher scored indicate better performance of yoga. Then to assess the anxiety, we have got GAD-7, again a very well-known tool to understand the anxiety levels, and higher scores indicate higher levels of anxiety. The overall health is assessed by Patient Health Questionnaire 9, which has 9 items, and higher scores indicate deterioration of health. So the lower scores are better health outcome. Last but never the least is WHO Wellbeing Index, and again there are 5 questions. This is developed by the World Health Organization, and the scores lower than 13 indicate poor well-being as well as depression. So we have largely covered 3 major psychosocial sequelae of COVID-19 during the assessments here. One was anxiety, depression, as well as the stress levels. And we are also looking at the patient well-being. We are looking at the symptoms as well as the adherence to the practice. So that is all that we are trying to assess using the assessment tools proposed in the module. Thank you very much for your patient listening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Apar. So you have covered various dimensions of naturopathy, which are being explored in a way in multiple institutions. And I have to place on record amazing work done by our Tamil Nadu group, Dr.
Yes.
Manavalan and the group, and many other naturopathy institutions across the country have tried several of these interventions which you just narrated. And it's also important to understand the assessments related, because let me just mention it here, that the assessments mentioned are related to psychosocial rehabilitation. So there is no dearth of assessments what you can add as far as COVID-19 is concerned. So this is very focused approach what has been taken for psychosocial rehabilitation. Thank you very much, Dr. Apar. I'm sure many of the medical practitioners who are participating today, as well as students, will have lots of questions to ask you and discuss further. So we will make it available to each speaker subsequently. So we have come to the most important part of this manual, where we are going to listen from Dr. Aarti Jagannathan about the mental health quotient as well as the psychosocial rehab inputs derived from this manual. So let me take the privilege of introducing Dr. Aarti Jagannathan, who has done MBA, MPhil and PhD in psychiatric social work from NIMHANS in Bengaluru, and as well as the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. She is currently an associate professor of psychiatric social work associated with Psychiatric Rehabilitation Services, NIMHANS, Bengaluru. Let me also add here out of her CV that though she is an active person in the psychiatric social work department, she is the main backbone for lots of yoga related activities, right? At SVYASA as well as at NIMHANS, and she contributes to several yoga protocol standardization to manual preparation to as participating as a co-investigator in several studies. So she is in a way part of several departments and institutions as far as yoga research is concerned. Her areas of interest include the rehabilitation of persons with psychiatric disorders, including supported employment, supported education, facilitation of welfare benefits, community-based rehabilitation. These areas are very crucial because when there are problems, we look at the other side of the problem, but what exactly an individual goes through, we don't give importance to it. And I'm so happy that Dr. Aarti is primarily working in all these areas. And she is also concerned with the human rights of mentally ill and yoga for mental health, caregiver intervention. She has more than 50 scientific publications in peer-reviewed journals, and she holds 7 research projects as a principal investigator funded by various funding agencies such as ICMR, then Ministry of Social Justice Empowerment, etc. And she is also the recipient of a 5th National Women's Excellence Award by Government of India and Women's International Network Award. She was part of the core committee that drafted the advisory on Chili Yoga guidelines for CCRYN, Ministry of Ayush, Government of India. So Dr. Aarti, as I mentioned, she has been an active person with respect to doing a lot of karma yoga. So she puts a lot of effort, and she motivates many people in actually doing work with the least expectation. And she has contributed extensively in this area. So over to Dr. Aarti Jagannathan, who will be talking about the 2 main aspects. One is the mental health related aspects, as well as psychosocial rehabilitation inputs from this manual. Over to Dr. Aarti Jagannathan.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manjunath, for that introduction. I will be sharing my slides. I will be presenting 2 of the sessions that I have been part of, and I would like to place on record the contribution of Mr. Shrikant T. Nair, who's a PhD scholar in the Department of Psychiatric Social Work, who has also contributed significantly to both these sessions that I will be presenting today. The first is the mental health sequelae of COVID-19. The duration of the session that we have posted is about 90 minutes of training, and the session objective is to educate participants about psychosocial issues during the COVID pandemic. The main premise, if I can go back, I'm sorry. The main premise is that COVID-19 pandemic is a major health crisis, mental health crisis, and it affects people around the world. So it's very common for people to feel stressed and worried in a pandemic. So it's very normal to feel a little abnormal. However, how much of abnormality is okay and not okay is what we are going to be training BNY's doctors in this session. So mental health sequelae, the common responses of people who have either been affected with COVID or who have seen people around them with COVID is fear of falling ill, fear of dying, avoiding people approaching in health facilities, refusal to take care, feeling of helplessness, and a lot of people do feel stigma and social exclusion. So these are some of the common responses that we have found from people around. Some of the common mental health disorders that we need to talk about while dealing with some of the COVID-19 patients, and you need to rule these out. One of the major things is depression. So some of the symptoms of depression have been detailed, including negative thoughts about oneself, being pessimistic, having difficulties in concentration, having a low mood, thinking about self-harm, some behavior-related, being isolated, not taking care of self, and also to take care of warning signs of suicide if someone is talking about wanting to die, kill themselves, or talking about feeling hopeless, feeling trapped. I think a lot of these things need to be assessed adequately so that we can provide appropriate and timely psychosocial support to COVID-19 patients. The next set of disorders that we need to look out for is anxiety and substance use in COVID-19 patients. Anxiety, some of the symptoms include feeling worried, being on the edge, trouble in sleeping, difficulties in concentration, constant apprehension, inability to feel ease, shortness of breath, sweating, and possibly abdominal discomfort and dry mouth. Substance use, as most of you would know, is also change in pattern of existing substance use, such as increase in frequency of any of the substances, especially alcohol, tobacco, and use of additional substances along with the using of current substances. It could be any of the other substances that can be added on to alcohol and nicotine that are being used. General stress is also something that we see in COVID-19 patients. And apart from dealing with general stress per se, a lot of patients go through grief because they have seen their near and dear ones die in front of them. So talking about grief, learning to manage grief is also an important psychosocial intervention. Sleep disturbances are very common among clients with COVID-19, especially because they are fearful, they are anxious. Also, sleep disturbances can be independent of any of these mental health disorders, which also need to be taken care of. So let's go on to the interventions for management of COVID-19, the psychosocial rehab interventions that we have detailed in another module and session, which is of 90 minutes again. The objective of this session is to train participants to implement the psychosocial rehabilitation interventions during COVID pandemic for COVID patients. The general rules in intervention are what should be the role of the therapist, how much should the therapist intervene, that is yourself as the unbiased doctors, how much should you take care of the ethics in intervention, being non-judgmental, trying not to reveal too much of private information, keeping information confidential between the client and yourself, and also importantly, assessing the risk before selecting any intervention and referring clients to appropriate referral systems in case required. So the first management technique that we use for psychosocial rehabilitation is psychoeducation. That is educating the patients about their problems. So educating them about COVID-19, telling them as to what are the facts, how are they faring, what should they look out for, without creating fear in them so that they are well aware and not hypothetically anxious about the situation. Trying to help them solve their problems through various problem-solving techniques, trying to help them communicate effectively about their situation, which becomes extremely important because a lot of them become introverted towards this situation. Being self-assertive in the training process so that they ask for what they want and not keep quiet because they feel that the system is not working. All this comes as part of psychoeducation, the details of which will be provided to you in the training program. It's also important to address triggers and stressors because why are they again and again having anxiety symptoms, having symptoms of feeling low mood? Are there any specific external or internal stressors that we need to look at? It could be a major life event like a death in a family. It could be that a lot of people in the family are only talking about COVID-19. It could be an injury, illness. It could be a financial stress. It could be the patient's own inability to feel that things are not in my control, feeling that so much of change is happening, a fear about the future, expectations about what will happen, also about his family, fear about what will happen in the future. All these triggers also need to be assessed and addressed during the counseling sessions that you need to have with patients. The other thing is about managing substances. We spoke about how you need to assess for substances. The basic thing in managing substances is teaching the clients 4 Ds if they are indulging in substances: delaying taking the substance, distracting them, drinking water, and doing deep breathing, which would help possibly reduce the cycle of taking substances. Another very important psychosocial intervention that needs to be provided is breaking the bad news and handling grief. We are seeing a lot of death around us. We are seeing a lot of people critical in ICUs and needing oxygen. And for them, the spikes model, which is usually done for breaking the bad news and for handling grief, can be handled, can be used, and this will be taught to you in the module. So the first is setting up and starting, that is mentally rehearsing and providing for privacy so that the patient feels free to break the to understand when you break the bad news to them, or in understanding to handling grief. The perception, the client's perception of how they believe, what is the situation, are they understanding about the seriousness of the situation, in what stage of grief are they, inviting the patient to ask questions about what they want to know, also providing them enough knowledge in small bits and pieces so that they can handle the information that you are providing to them, also seep into them, accept the situation as much as possible, recognizing and empathizing with their emotions and not disregarding them, because these emotions are extremely genuine and they will go through the entire process, and strategizing and summarizing towards the end of it. These stages could take multiple sessions, multiple days, or possibly a few weeks for you to roll them out and help them manage through the various stages of grief, from denial to finally acceptance. Sleep hygiene also needs to be taught to the clients as to how they can take care of their sleep in case they're not having any other comorbid mental health disorders, from sleeping only when they're feeling sleepy, trying to avoid afternoon sleep, sleeping only in the bed, trying to sleep the same day, not to exercise or do anything dynamic 4 hours before bedtime, having a light dinner, some of the techniques that can be taught, and they need to systematize it so that sleep hygiene can be inculcated. We also need to talk about their social support network. This is the time when COVID-19 patients feel that they don't have anyone around them. They feel alone, especially in quarantine, when they are alone in ICUs, as well as when they are recuperating. Hence, trying to talk to them about their perceived social support through the social support network, doing this activity with them of trying to find out how many people they have whom they can reach out to for emotional support, how many people they can reach out to for informational support, and how many people they can reach out to for financial support, helps them look at the entire scenario, saying that they are not alone, and helps them instill confidence in them. So this one activity is something that can be provided to them, which will be detailed in the training program. Management of future, planning for the future is extremely important. Everyone is bothered about their finances, about their savings. Do they draw up a will and a trust? Are they looking at guardianship if they have people who are disabled, who are old? What after them if they fall ill? Who will take care of their family? Also about where will they earn their next meal? Vocational options, where they can go for a job. I think all these things need to be discussed and help them, which will help them allay their fears and also help them feel that, okay, reassured that there's something to look forward to in the future. All these things would be talked in much detail in the training program as to how you can provide these services. Details of it are provided in the protocol, which is uploaded in the CCRY website. I will close with this, and I would be happy to hand over the program to Dr. Manjunath and Dr. Pandey. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Aarti. I think this will add huge value to COVID management, because generally what happens is people look at COVID management as managing a respiratory disease, managing an infection, managing any other major aspect. But the psychosocial components are definitely missed when we are bringing these interventions together. So that was a detailed illustration, and I'm sure all the students and people, those who are going to go through this manual, are going to training program, are going to get the deeper insights into psychosocial rehabilitation. Thank you very much, Dr. Aarti. So we have the head of the Psychiatric Social Work Department, Dr. Pandian, who has been a sort of a guiding spirit for all the people, those who have put their thoughts together in developing this manual. So Dr. Pandian has also, as I mentioned in the beginning, been contributing into several of these areas for years. So now I request Dr. Pandian to give his concluding remarks on all the three speakers, the points, whatever has been presented by them, as well as the details given to all the participants. Dr. Pandian, please. Do we have Dr. Pandian with us?
Mute Dr. Pandian, please. Can the ID set?
Thank you. Yeah, Dr. Pandian, please.
So you need to unmute yourself, or I'll try unmuting you. Just a minute.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Dr. Manjunath, the Pro Vice Chancellor of Swami Vivekananda Yoga Anusthana Samaste, SVS Bangalore, for his great leadership. I am extremely pleased to listen to all the presentations. In fact, this is an eye-opener. What all the three presenters have done today, Dr. Hemant Bhargav, the Assistant Professor of Yoga at the Department of Integrative Medicine of NIMHANS, Bangalore, he has given a comprehensive view about the issue of the medical aspects of COVID-19, and he has given the current kind of an understanding about the various issues related to COVID. And the second presentation by Dr. Apar Avinash Sayoji Rao, who is a principal at the School of Yoga and the Naturopathic Medicine at SVS Bangalore, has given a comprehensive view about the naturopathic kind of an understanding about the entire thing. In fact, it was a great presentation by both of them. I am extremely pleased to listen to both the presentations. And coming to the third presentation by Dr. Aarti Jagannathan, Associate Professor of Psychiatric Social Work, NIMHANS. I am also extremely happy to learn that Mr. Srikanth Nair, who is a PhD scholar working with Dr. Aarti Jagannathan, also one among the co-author in these preparations. They have communicated very clearly the psychosocial issues and the psychosocial rehabilitation aspects of COVID-19 patients and their family members. In fact, I would like to say Dr. Aarti Jagannathan, apart from the work what she is doing, she is working in variety of other issues. She is working for the welfare of chronic mentally ill women and their rehabilitation. She is also working with the prisoners and for their rehabilitation. She is also working for the overall well-being of my entire students in the NIMHANS campus for their well-being as a part of PhD work. So their contributions are extremely grateful. There are many studies also these presentations have covered. I mean, at NIMHANS, the integrative medicine work initiated by Professor B.N. Gangadhar under the guidance of Professor N. Janagiramaya in 1990s, and where they have demonstrated how the yoga practices can be highly useful for people with depressive disorders, and they have started publishing many papers related to this issue actually. As we all know, the 20th century and the 21st century is a century of anxiety and stress. In fact, nobody is free from any kind of stress actually. That is in the normal situation I'm talking about. When we compare to the issue of the pandemic, you know the impact, and day by day the number of cases are increasing. It is very unfortunate to note that yesterday alone, in the last 24 hours, there are more than 3 lakh cases have become positive, and significant number of people happen to have many kind of the impact of COVID directly and indirectly. Even many hospitals, even the many popular cities, even our state and national headquarters, finding it difficult to manage the people with such kind of difficulty at this point of time, having an appropriate kind of the psychosocial issues assessment and plan for suitable psychosocial rehabilitation is a need of the hour. That's what our team has done today. When we talk about the comprehensive kind of an intervention, the rehabilitation process starts with early identification of problems. We need not wait for the people to have all kind of difficulties and plan for rehabilitation. We have to identify the appropriate kind of the difficulties before they get into the actual problem. We can use variety of self-assessments. We can also identify various other corroborating informations and we must come out with a comprehensive kind of a package. So, for example, any helping profession like the profession we all belong to, we all should be able to provide a comprehensive kind of a health services. Everybody should know about the various other services, and we also provide an umbrella of care. We also should know where are the various other services available for people. Networking in the particularly this kind of a crisis situation, all the professionals, we also should know about various other services available both within the government as well as in the other various non-governmental organizations as well as other service sectors, so that we can provide a kind of highest level of service delivery to our clients and their family members. So I'm extremely pleased to listen to all the presentations, and we all have realized, even recently, our international World Social Day theme slogan, "I am because we are," that is applicable to all the professions. All the professions can provide a higher quality of services in collaboration and networking with various service providers. I think that's what that the comprehensive understanding has come today. In the great our mother nation, we all have the great responsibility, and we can meaningfully collaborate, meaningfully understand, and we can do a kind of an opportunity for that. In the proposal only, this present protocol, the present release of this protocol on psychosocial rehabilitation of COVID-19 for patients and through online, this program have been planned. I sincerely thank all the three presenters for their meaningful presentation. I am extremely grateful to Dr. Manjunath, the Pro Vice Chancellor of SVIASA, for his leadership, and I sincerely thank every one of them for their meaningful service for the humankind. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Pandian. I mean, I think there couldn't have been a better summary of what you have given. And particularly all three speakers, they have in such short time, they have covered all the essentials of this particular manual and protocol. And I'm sure this will help several of naturopathy physicians and the students to understand the psychosocial rehabilitation portions are the parts of rehabilitation to adopt into their own interventional methods. And this is going to take a long way because we truly don't know how this COVID is going to move. But this will help us to equip ourselves much better to face challenges which probably are going to come in many days to come in future. So we also need to thank the Ministry of Ayush, particularly the initiative taken by Dr. Raghavendra Rao, and very well supported by the Joint Secretary Ranjit Kumar sir, and Secretary our own Rajesh Kotecha sir, and Honorable Minister on one side, and Dr. BNG, Dr. Varambali, as well as Dr. Pandian from NIMHANS on the other side, and of course our own beloved Guruji from SVIASA. I have to place on record, apart from the wonderful team from NIMHANS, as mentioned already, Dr. Apar has been very well supported by Dr. Swati, and we had Bharati Shah, who has designed this wonderful whole manual from SVIASA have to be remembered during this point of time. And I also am so happy to see close to 300 participants. I was told by Dr. Raghavendra Rao that there is a limitation of 300. Probably there are thousands of people who are watching it live on Facebook, and many people are getting the benefit of this particular webinar / training program. And I request Dr. Raghavendra Rao to give his closing remarks after listening to all the three speakers. And it was our privilege, both myself and Dr. Pandian, to be part of this webinar. Over to Dr. Raghavendra Rao. Dr. Raghavendra. Dr. Rao, you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I think we'll unmute him because we are having the control from here. Can I request the IT cell to unmute him, please? Just give me a minute.
Whom should we unmute?
Dr. Raghavendra Rao, please. Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Manjunath. And I thank the entire team of SVIASA and NIMHANS, both the departments in NIMHANS, Psychiatric Social Work and the Integrative Medicine Center, and all the people who have really put all their efforts, their time, and their resources to make this happen. We had been envisioning this the last year itself to start doing this, but there was a COVID which was going on the wane, and then we deferred the program because the COVID was already going on the wane and the cases were very, very less. So we did not feel the need to do the training program then. But now the resurgence in COVID, it's an apt time that we know that this COVID is going to stay for a longer time. And it is time that we also start developing the skill sets of all the BMIS doctors and all the yoga therapists and yoga people who are going to be involved with the care of the COVID patients so that they know what they're really doing. Because it's a different thing altogether. We may give very, very large modules, big yoga therapy modules and instructions. But these one important thing in COVID patients is they have severe fatigue because of hypoxia. Okay, because of the low oxygen saturation levels and because of hypoxic conditions, they have a lot of fatigue. And your intervention should be very, very short, crisp, and should be improving the oxygen saturation. Simple thing. These have to be anti-hypoxic interventions. Simple to say. So this is what we need to really do. And doing this in a COVID ward is entirely different game altogether because you have to be completely on your own guard. You have to be on the PPE suits, especially when you go to a moderate patient with a moderate intensity of COVID, and they're all fulminating cases. They have symptoms, they are coughing, and it is a closed room. So you have to have double layered PPE protection. And in that PPE suit, we really do the yoga there. So what I will do is the next week is also show you a glimpse of how the entry into a COVID ward happens, what precautions one should take while going to a COVID ward, okay, and how you're going to be donning on the PPE suit, how do you do the donning of the PPE suit, as well as what really is a reality, what is the reality when you go into a COVID ward, how that yoga really happens there. So you'll also get to see some of the glimpses and photos of those. We'll put those in the course curriculum in the material as well. So, but what we are really trying to envisage in this whole program is we want to develop a methodology for developing online program. So we want to also develop a toll-free number in CCRYN. Patients can call this, and we're also going to identify people, resources in different districts, different areas in the coming days, so that we'll have nodal officers, and they will take in those calls, and they will identify resources in their particular district to give the advice to the patients. So this can be an online advice. So we are also collaborating with the Echo India platform for this initiative. They are ready to give their Echo India platform for doing this intervention to the patients, as well as for training doctors, as well as for having case discussion on different COVID-19 cases patients. So this is a very good forum which we can start developing over the days and over the weeks. And the people who are really serious in participating in treating COVID-19 patients, either at the COVID care centers or remotely, we request you to be very serious about it and join the coming workshops in the coming weeks. And we will be making batches of these workshops so that these workshops will be very, very serious, and you will be given certificates following these workshops, as well as you'll be asked to pass certain test questions so that we know that you are completely attending the workshop and you have some knowledge about the COVID-19 as well as the management of it. So this is the idea behind the whole thing, and I thank the entire team from SVIASA and NIMHANS for being with us here. In the coming days, we will take this to the next level. We will start developing the conceptualizing the complete workshop, the program, etc. And we will take all the participants to the nitty-gritties of managing the COVID-19 patients. And we'll also be doing online interviews, online consultations, and probably one can also listen to these online consultations during one of those such workshops, how a consultation, online consultation is also done. So we can also play that online consultation in the workshop as well, so that it'll benefit all of you to understand what really goes on, what are the concerns of a COVID-19 patient, what sort of questions come in, and how is it that you try to answer those questions as well. So we will get back to you with more information, and the protocol is already will be uploaded into the CCRN website today under the event section. So if you go to the CCRN website, ccrn.gov.in, and go to the event section here, in that we have the protocol which can be downloaded there. We are also going to upload all the PPT slides also onto the event page of CCRN, and you can be free to download those PPTs also later on. Okay, I thank you all for having been here. In fact, we are trying to do a very large study where we use yoga and naturopathic interventions, and in fact, assess how a tele-yoga kind of intervention, a tele-yoga and tele-naturopathic counseling remotely really helps patients with COVID-19 overcome their symptoms and overcome their distress. So we are going to put a research project to that, and we hope demands SPRs are also going to contribute towards this. And there's a big team here from Tamil Nadu who is also doing a lot of work on naturopathy. Chandrasekharan was coordinating that from Tamil Nadu. They're also very keen on doing a large study. And we also have a COVID-19 database, a registry which has more than 1,000 patients. So we're going to expand the registry with more intervention to include more number of centers. And we will take this up in a right earnest in the coming days. And I thank all of you for a patient hearing. And we look forward to seeing you in the coming weeks in this particular program. So the next date of the program will be announced very shortly on the WhatsApp groups. We look forward to your participation in these particular programs. Thank you all once again. I thank Dr. H.R. Nagendraji. Thank our Joint Secretary, Shri Ranjit Kumarji, who's been the brain and the motivating force behind CCRYN, and for doing all such programs. And also our secretary, who's unfortunately not able to join us today due to personal reasons, but his wishes are always with us, and he's been encouraging us to do this kind of programs and to scale up the Ayush interventions in the COVID scenario, in this upcoming COVID scenario. And we hope with all your efforts and with all your participation and keenness in participating, we'll be able to do this one. Very importantly, which I want to tell you is, as doctors, as naturopaths, as yoga therapists, we need not fear about COVID-19. So what is important here is, if you are having vaccination and if you are taking precautions, like if you're wearing a face mask, if you're maintaining the social distancing, okay, and if you're sanitizing your hands routinely, and if you're taking your own personal safety precautions, you would probably not have any problem at all. So you should not fear that you are going into COVID ward and you're going to contract infections. There are numerous healthcare workers, day in and day out, they have been fighting the COVID-19 by working in the wards about up to 12 hours to 24 hours at a stretch. In some of my hospitals where I'm working in Rajiv Gandhi, I have a pulmonologist who has worked 72 hours at a non-stop, 72 hours in ICU, because he was not able to be relieved. Okay, because so much amount of patients were there, so many had distress, he could not even afford to get out. Okay, so that was the kind of person, kind of dedication people have. So this is the kind of scenario is happening in most of the centers across the country, and we also have to gear up and do our bit either remotely or on site and volunteer ourselves for this cause. And I once again request all of you to live up to this occasion and try to see how patients could benefit from your skills and your knowledge. And even if you're able to reduce distress and symptom of 1 or 2 patients, it gives you a lot of relief. That's what I see. Even in my own colony, we have about 20 patients here, and I have been talking to them. I've been talking to their families, and they feel more relieved when they talk to some healthcare professional. That's what is psychosocial rehabilitation is all about. You are counseling somebody, and your assurance itself will make them feel at ease. that their oxygen saturation is normal, they are not serious, they do not have to go to the hospital. That itself is much enough to reduce their anxiety. So a bare minimum counseling, even a talk to all these patients and their families will go a long way in easing their distress. And we should begin with small steps like this and take it to a larger extent in COVID care hospitals and centers. I thank you all for a patient hearing, and I thank the NIMHANS team for organizing this webinar. And thank you all once again. Namaste.
Thank you, Dr. Raghavendra. I think we don't have too much time for questions as of now, but when we do have the training programs, detailed training programs, we would be able to have sessions of training as well as question answers. So I request you to register for the training programs as and when they are announced, so that we could take it up from there. Thank you, Dr. Raghavendra. We can close the meeting today. Thank you so much. Thank you.